for another episode of Pastors in Cars. No longer getting donuts, just Pastors in Cars. And we have a very special guest today. We're so glad you decided to join us, to watch with us. We're excited for what we have for you today. Like I said, for the last 15 episodes, if you haven't learned by now, my name's Tony. I drive a 2002 Toyota. Thank God it's just still going. How about you, Morgan?
My name is still Morgan Butcher. And
Morgan?
Tony, is your phone being weird, Tony? I don't know what's going on.
No.
Tony's audio is terrible.
I'm literally so confused.
What?
Go ahead, Morgan. I'll take the lead while Tony is acting weird.
Yeah, my name's Morgan. I'm driving my 1997 3 Series BMW that I got for free. Let's go!
Seriously, Morgan's rolling a Beamer. What do we say? Life's good for Morgan. I'm Brandon. I am driving a 2015 Audi A4. And I'll introduce you to my buddy, Jeff. Why don't you introduce yourself?
What's going on? I'm Jeff. I'm driving a 2017 Ford pick-em-up truck.
Come on.
Because that's what I do. I'm a truck driver.
Because he's a man, that's why.
So, Jeff, are you driving from Cleellum to Monroe?
I am. Yeah, just come over from Cleellum to Monroe and coming here to the Monroe campus for a little bit. And then, I've been working on the Cleellum campus also. You and I are partners in, and that's awesome. And it's going well. Yeah, things are good.
So why don't you tell everybody who you are, what church you pastor?
Yeah, I'm Jeff and pastor of the Rock Church in Monroe, Washington. It was a church that started as a small group in my home when I was 14 years old. My dad, in 1979, when I was 9, was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And it got so bad that he couldn't really attend a church service. You know, those 80s church services were 3.5 hours long. And he just couldn't sit up because of the nerve damage that he had. And so they launched a small group at their home. About 90 days into the small group, my dad, he was miraculously healed. And he went to his doctor, and the doctor said, well, you're in remission. And my dad lived for he lived until the year 2000 and never had another symptom of multiple sclerosis. And kind of on the backbone of that miracle, that little small group turned into the church that I pastor today. So it's kind of cool.
Wow.
So would you be, you and I have talked about this a number of times, but you ended up taking over the church from your dad in some really tragic circumstances. Would you be willing to share that?
Yeah. So I was the pastor's kid that got exposed to the dark underbelly of the church a little bit. And so I went to college. My wife and I got married. We went to college, and I studied construction management. I wanted to start a road construction company and build literal bridges. I am my favorite material in construction is concrete. I'd build a house out of concrete if I could, because it's the coolest stuff. But just before my senior year of college, my dad asked me to join him in the ministry. His youth pastor, great guy in the area, a guy named Blaine Griner. He was moving on, doing some other things. And so my dad asked me to pray about it. And I had that call of God experience along the Yakima River, where I was going to college at, over at Central. So I come home, I struggle trying to figure out how to be a leader and leading the church and all that. I'm serving my parents. And we started to get some traction about, year 3 or year 4 or year 5, somewhere in there. And one day, we were recording, my wife she's a worship leader, and we were recording an album down in Seattle, and I got a phone call from one of my best buddies, and he said, hey, I don't want to alarm you, but a plane just crashed into the Pacific Ocean. And I'm like, and they get me out of the studio. I was actually playing I'm a frustrated guitar player, meaning I love playing guitar, but I never have time to. And so I was playing some guitar tracks, and I come out and I turn on a snowy picture of Como 4 here in Seattle, and it was a Coast Guard helicopter hovering over the Pacific Ocean, and the commentator, the news anchor, said Flight 261 has gone into the Pacific Ocean, and my dad's assistant was with us, and I turned to Rachel and I said, "Is that their flight number?" And because I knew they were coming home that night, and she said, "It is, Jeff." And yeah, that was 4:36 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, January 31st, 2000. A moment that I'll never forget. I went outside it was an overcast day, you know, as we get in January, and I looked to heaven and I said, man, if this is true, if this is really real, no matter what the future holds, I just told the Lord, I said, I need you with me. And, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, water baptism of the Holy Spirit. I experienced the baptism of peace in that moment. And it was, I didn't know what to do, but I knew the mindset and the perspective of how to do it, like in a moment. And from that moment on, I just started leading my family and our church. And obviously I was grieving the loss of my heroes. And the next night, literally the next night, the board came to my parents' house on February 1st of 2000. I was 29. And said, we believe that your dad and mom would want you and Melinda to take the leadership of the church. And, you know, I look back at that and I'd have done anything to make my mom and dad's vision come to pass. And especially in that moment. Right. And I now counsel, you know, 20 years later now, I now, when the batons pass between fathers and sons, and if it's because of tragedy, I actually encourage boards to give some time to breathe for a few minutes, because I sure would have valued some time to breathe, because, man, it took off like a rocket after that. So, yeah, it was an interesting way to step into senior leadership, but it was powerful too. And, you know, about 2.5 years later, the church had grown about 60% in 2000, 2001. And I thought, I thought it was sympathy growth. I thought people were just coming to pay their respects, you know, to my parents. But it turns out like the vision had kind of caught on, and because the first year I just get up in the pulpit and cry, and try to say something, you know, articulate or intelligent through the tears, and who knew that authenticity would actually build a community and it would start doubling. And about 2003, I was like, you know, I heard somewhere, I read in a John Maxwell book, you need a vision if you're a leader. So I need one of those. What's a vision? And yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah. I gotcha.
So Jeff, you took over, you became lead pastor at 29 years old.
Yeah, 29. Crazy.
How old are you now?
I am going to be 50 in 9 days.
All right, you're older than me.
Hey,
my oldest
okay.
friend. You and Jared are my oldest friends.
I'm the senior guy. Yeah.
It's okay, Jeff,
Wow.
because I'm 33 and I look like, you know, I'm probably like 53. So I think I got both of you beat.
You look fantastic. You look like you've been to the gym is what you look like when I see you as I'm meeting you.
Wow, man. Oh, God,
Wow.
Say that to me.
Wow.
I
That's
don't
'cause
know
got
if
this,
anyone's
like,
ever
shoulder-
said that to Morgan before.
The shoulder up shot is pretty impressive. As soon
That's
as
what I'm
you
saying.
get down to the gut, it gets
That's what I'm
less
saying.
impressive.
You have the beard and the hairstyle of a six pack. That's what I'm saying right there.
Wow.
Wow, Tony
Morgan.
loves this because normally everybody's making fun of Tony on this. It never veers to Morgan.
Oh no, man! This is more of a compliment.
Great.
I appreciate this.
Hey,
This
why
is
don't
great.
you, Jeff, why don't you tell them a little bit about what you and I are doing together in Cle Elum?
So
Oh, Tony.
somebody's audio is awesome.
Look at the picture Tony's frozen.
He's on like AOL dial-up or something. I don't know what's going on here.
Oh, that is the best.
Yeah,
What?
I can't help but laugh at whatever's coming through. Okay, so I told you that I had that call of God experience along the Yakima River. Well, that was we were living in Ellensburg and going to college over there. I love Central Washington. I mean, I just love it. I think, you know, I grew up I graduated from Monroe High School, same town that I pastor in. Like I rode my bike on every one of the streets when I was a kid. And so the only other place I lived, was Ellensburg in Kittitas County. And a few years ago, my wife and I just really believed that, hey, we commuted those early years to youth pastor while we were going to college. Let's just commute, with technology and, even this call, Zoom and all that, we can lead well and kind of live in a place that we really love. And so in 2017, we moved over to Cle Elum, and that's where we live. But I have a heart for that city also. And so the partnership is we did a pop-up service on December 12th, and turns out that I didn't know, but turns out, Brandon, you had a building over there and that was sitting empty. And we had a really successful pop-up service, and I got a small group started over there. It's going about a year now. And so we took occupancy of that building, and I mean, everything kind of got slowed down with this whole COVID thing because of construction and all that. But we're renovating it and going to launch campus there. Hopefully we were trying to launch campus by Easter, but it's probably delayed till the fall. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. You have two of the larger churches in our county kind of partnering together to launch a church in Cle Elum. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's great. It's great.
Now, Jeff, I got to break it to you, but we actually still have an asset of the Cle Elum campus in our building. It's this really nice, it's about a 5-inch thick Bible with Jesus's face on the front of it with a gold stand. So at some point we're going to have to get that back to you because I think you're going to need that.
No, Brandon wanted that. That was a special request.
Oh, he is true. He's the one that brought it here.
We keep on seeing it pop up. We keep on seeing it pop up in random parts of the building.
Well, hey, it looks good in your building. By the way, you guys, I got a chance to see your building, and I just want to say, man, I know you guys paid a high price and a lot of years setting up and tearing down, and what you built is amazing, and I can't wait for it to be filled every Sunday.
Yeah, Morgan and Tony, they lost their hair because of it.
Yeah, true.
I gained 25 pounds. They lost their hair.
Right.
That's not the only thing I lost.
That's how come this is no longer pastors getting donuts, because we were paying too high a price to get together.
We've switched it to pastors on keto doing interviews together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
pastors
exactly.
fasting, getting donuts. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Pastor Jeff,
Very cool.
Can you guys hear me okay? I don't know what the crud's going on.
I can hear you now.
It's demonic, man. The devil doesn't want me to talk. Pastor Jeff, we got to wrap this up, but what would you say now, here you are, you fast forward 2020, it's been 20 years of you really taking over leadership. What's the church like now? How are you guys doing? And what's maybe the biggest thing you've learned in all these years?
Oh man, that's a huge one. I think probably, and I'll use this one. The Persian king sent all of his scholars and his artists and his spiritual guides and whoever, and he said, I need you to go write me a phrase that I can look at and apply to every situation that I ever encounter. On the first attempt, they went and they came back with a paragraph and they read it to him, and he says, this is a wonderful paragraph and it applies to every situation. Go make it shorter. And they come back and it was a sentence. And he said, this is a perfect sentence. It applies to everything. Now go make it shorter. And so they had it inscribed on a ring, and it said, this too shall pass. And I think those kind of words in times like these, I've been through a lot of adversity, personally, leading the church. I've also been through incredible times of supernatural growth and grand openings and, amazing salvations and just all of that. And I think that probably the consistent thing that I see lead pastoring for 20 years, pastoring, is that every season comes to an end. It yields to another season. And while you know, maybe families that are going to watch this, or other lead pastors or other staffers or whatever are going to watch this. And right now we're working harder than, you know, moms are working harder than they ever have. Dads are working harder and up late thinking about stuff. And if I could just encourage one thing through the adversities that I've been through, is that this too shall pass, and it's going to give way to brighter days and a better season. So that's how I'd sum it up.
Man. That's great.
Yeah. Why don't you, I think we got a couple more minutes. Tell them a little bit about what you've been doing at Monroe Speedway with your driving services. I think that opportunity is the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah. You would never believe where I'm headed right now. I got a call this morning. The Speedway can't have fans. So they asked me, we partnered together and I loaned them some of our video gear so that they could capture their races. And then they negotiated a contract with C11 on Sunday nights. So they recorded the races on Saturday, and now they've asked me to be the announcer. So I'm going to watch the races and be a commentator. I'm going to try it. What the heck? But my partnership with Evergreen Speedway goes back a long time. I've been a race car driver there for a long time. I love, you know, it's my hometown. It's in the same town. You know, when I got involved with racing years and years ago, it's still on a consistent basis, the largest assembly of people on the weekend consistently in sports anywhere in Snohomish County. Larger than the Aqua Sox, larger than every Saturday. And we just felt as a church, it was a very strategic place to get involved in. And so years ago, I got involved and just started helping a driver. And then I ended up getting behind the wheel. And so when this COVID thing broke, I tried to have Easter there. So they couldn't open the track then though. And so a few weeks later, I want to say in May, we did 3 drive-in services at the Speedway, and it was cool. We since moved our drive-in service now to our campus in the parking lot. And that has been even better because the Speedway had a big event right after ours. And it was a little weird having to be out in 5 minutes after you were done. And so, now we're online and we're in the parking lot. I'm doing a 100-person worship service in the building tomorrow night. And then I'm thinking about, we have this big roll-up garage door. I'm thinking about doing a Sunday, 100 people in the building, 100 people outside the building. So we're just trying to figure it out. But the Speedway connection has been amazing. Doug and Tracy Hobbs are good friends, and I just love the opportunity to be able to use that venue. It's cool.
Awesome.
That's so cool, man. Well, Pastor Jeff, thanks for being on. Everyone, thank you for watching. Another great episode of Pastors and Cars, watching their figures. So, hey, we love you guys. We appreciate it. Thanks, Pastor Jeff.
Later.